On today's episode, we welcome a special guest, Sam Van Dalen, founder of Attainable Security. Sam, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Messi.
No worries. So, what made you start this business? What inspired you to launch yourself into security?
Yeah. I co-founded Attainable Security with Martin Hiriart, and I think personally, my cybersecurity journey started back during 2017 or so, 2017, 2018. I joined a small SaaS company. I joined their sort of system administration infrastructure team, and we had a little some servers in a data center, and we would manage that. And the product would be hosted. Our SaaS product would be hosted there, and the organization ended up getting hit by ransomware. Um, I was learning a few things here and there about cybersecurity, but we get hit by ransomware. We realized we were entirely unprepared for that. We had backups. We were able to claw our way back to, pre impact state. I want to say maybe like 2 to 3 months after we got hit. But I have like these very distinct emotional memories of working, 80, 100, basically 24/7, on a rotating schedule with the rest of the members of the hosting team, of which Martin was a part of that team. So we both kind of rode through this ransomware incident together. But we were working these 24-hour, rotating shifts for like a month, for 2 months straight. And I remember being in the office, and I had coworkers who were dads. They had kids. They were moms. They were husbands. They were wives. Like these are people that had houses and families and lives. And I remember just this sort of atmosphere of, are we going to have a job after this? Like is the company going to survive? Are we going to make it? Um, Fortunately, the company did make it, but that kind of got me thinking. You know, one personally, I realized, hey, I that wasn't fun, and I don't want that to happen to other businesses, right? I don't want other people to have to go through that. But the second thing that came to my mind, and this is sort of the an idea that Martin and I sort of entertained over the next few years until we ended up launching Attainable Security, was that I think the most recent breach as of this recording, or the most recent like high profile one, is Meta or WhatsApp. Tons of stuff was leaked, like 3.5 billion phone numbers and records were leaked. Um, Meta leadership is going to look at that and say, oh no, we're going to have to pay hundreds of millions of dollars of damages and attorney fees and penalties and fines. Anyways, I'll see you Monday, right? Is basically it's obviously being a little reductive, but that's
Mhm.
kind of the atmosphere there.
Yeah.
But when you're working at a small business, the place I worked at had like 40 something employees, 30 something, 40 something. Um, and the atmosphere, the reaction is entirely different. We're literally questioning like, am I going to be able to am I going to have a paycheck in a month?
Mhm.
Are we going to survive?
Mhm.
So it's kind of that desire to, hey, the big guys are covered. They have their game plan, right? They have their massive cybersecurity budgets,
Mhm.
but small and medium businesses, they're in a much different boat, and an incident hits them at a disproportionately stronger has a disproportionately stronger impact than let's say a larger business, right?
Yeah.
So Attainable Security, we founded it in 2024, born out of a desire to help those smaller businesses increase their resiliency, improve their security posture, and actually have a game plan moving forward for cybersecurity that goes beyond, unfortunately, for most businesses or for many businesses in that category, at that size, their primary security strategy is, let's hope we don't get hit and see what happens. Let's just roll the dice every day.
Yeah.
Um, and we want people to be a little more confident than that.
Hmm. And your role in the business as the co-founder, are you like an IT guy or just more marketing or just more decision maker? What's your role in that business with Martin? I think you just said.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So as of right now, it is just myself and Martin in the business. We're
Okay.
the two co-founders, and um, that means that we're everything, right?
Yeah.
We do delivery, marketing. We're working on developing leads and whatnot. We partner with an amazing organization called Trailway that we communicate with and we work with very, very closely. So yeah, a little bit of everything is what I'll do. That's the co-founder life, right? That's the founder life. Um, so yeah, I mean everything from consultations to helping build out security policies and refining a company's security strategy, implementing, installing the agents, setting up policy, like setting up like enforcement policies,
Hmm.
everything, anything and everything.
Hmm. And coming back on your SaaS experience, you talked about a ransom hit.
A ransomware incident, yeah,
So what is that for the business? What is that kind of breach?
yeah, yeah. So ransomware is probably one of the cybersecurity boogeymen, right? It's a really scary thing. Basically, ransomware involves a specific kind of malware that propagates through your environment, through a computer, through your servers, through network storage, and it encrypts all of your files. And it basically holds your entire infrastructure. Anything it can touch, it locks up any files it can get to. It encrypts, and it basically holds them hostage, right? It's really, really, it's really scary.
Yeah.
You know it when you see it because you lose access to all your files, and every single folder is basically left with like a little TXT ransomware note. You open it up, and it's like, haha, we got you. Send 20 Bitcoin to this Bitcoin address, and we'll give you the decryption key, right? Um, so yeah, ransomware I think is particularly egregious for smaller businesses because you need to have some very specific defenses set up prior to the incident in order to improve your odds of recovery. Right, you need to have good encrypted, um, you know, backups that are not immediately accessible
Hmm.
with the same credentials that you would access your regular systems. Right, you have to have them in a place that the ransomware may not be able to easily propagate to, ideally offsite at a third party, hosted elsewhere, so that it can't spread to them.
Hmm.
You have to have a backup restoration policy in place, a game plan. But a lot of businesses don't have that. So usually what happens is business grinds to a halt. Everything stops. Everything stops. Um, and then yeah, they call the authorities, they call their insurance, they bring in guys like us to step in and start rebuilding things and helping them out.
Okay.
But yeah, ransomware is very, very, very dangerous. It acts so quickly sometimes that if you don't have these things already in place, it's almost too late.
Hmm. And is that activated by like an email or the typical like click on this link and then it goes into your computer? How do they bring this into your business?
Yeah, so ransomware is a specific kind of attack or a specific type of malware,
Mhm.
and it can be introduced by any means, right?
Huh.
It can be introduced through a phishing email, have somebody download something
Yeah.
through phishing, right? Hey, click on this link, download this file. Sometimes it can be introduced by some sort of call-based attack. You get a pop-up saying, on your browser, hey, your computer has malware, call this number. You call the number, and it's some scammer call center basically saying, oh yeah, we see your computer here.
Yeah.
um, let's get you sorted out, let's get you fixed, give us remote access to your system. And then you comply with them. They'll usually use a legitimate platform like log me in or AnyDesk or something like that, to gain remote access. And once they gain remote access, they launch the payload. So it can be
Wow.
introduced to an environment by a variety of vectors, by a variety of attack patterns. But once it's in, then that's where, for the hackers, for the threat actors, that's where the fun begins, because that's when they flip the switch. I think the forensics team that came in after that company that I used to work at, I believe that they had covered evidence that the threat actors had access for like several months to a year before they launched the attack. So they were in for a while. Yeah, super scary stuff. Um, but
So
yeah,
they
that's if I remember correctly. It was years ago.
they were just waiting to have like the proper like all the information they wanted to then actually ask for that ransom afterwards. Because like why would they wait for like 3 or a couple of months for that? Like is there a reason for that?
Yeah, so waiting is a very common tactic because the longer you wait, the harder it is, basically, or the easier it is to disconnect the attack from the approach, right?
Mm,
If somebody downloaded an email, they downloaded a file, then instantly things begin to get locked down. It's very easy to say, oh, you downloaded the email, things
mm,
began to get locked down.
okay.
There's the problem, right? When you introduce time, you do two things. One, you make it harder to connect the initial attack or
Mhm.
the intrusion event, whatever you want to call it, that moment when the malware is introduced,
Yeah.
to the point that it launches its own attack, right?
Mm,
And the second thing is you lure a business into a false sense of security, right?
yeah.
Hey, nothing's happened, so we're fine. So we
Mhm.
don't feel like we have to go back and review certain security measures, or we don't feel like we have to worry about certain things because
Yeah.
nothing's happened, right? Meanwhile, the the attackers are already in your environment. Um, yeah, so it's a tactic used to basically make the attackers stickier, and then it also gives them opportunities to work more in the background, right? Maybe instead of just launching the attack, they first want to spend some time doing some reconnaissance, enumerating some network drives and
Yeah.
seeing what's there, seeing if it's worth their time, um, all that fun stuff. So yeah, it's devious is what it is. It's very, very devious.
And for yourself, talking with like small and medium business owners or even industries, have you seen any like shift in their mindset towards cybersecurity or like any like they realize that this is actually a threat or they want to protect themselves? Is there something that you saw changing in the couple last years towards that?
Yes, actually, and this gives me a lot of hope. So a lot of businesses out there, I think cybersecurity as a whole is kind of making its way into the zeitgeist a little more.
Okay.
Understanding of online scams,
Mm,
understanding of malware, and this air of this culture of natural distrust towards
mhm.
online strangers or mysterious emails in your inbox.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a good thing.
Mhm.
But something that we're encountering more and more as we talk to companies, as we talk to potential customers, is there seems to be this understanding of, hey, we know this a little weird way to word it, but we know that we don't know what we don't know, right? We don't have visibility into those things. We don't have the expertise. We don't have the visibility into these things that we probably should have visibility into, right? We don't know what's going on, and we want to know what's going on. We want to get a better idea. Um, I want to say, maybe 5, 10 years ago, ignorance is bliss was sort of the default modus operandi for a lot of organizations. Just this is how we do it. Like, hey, we don't know, and again, we roll the dice.
Hmm.
Um, but I do see that being a trend. More and more businesses are looking at other companies get hit and saying,
Mhm.
that's not cool. We don't want to get hit there. We don't want that to happen to us. Why don't we spend a little bit of time, a little bit of money, a little bit of effort to um, understand this field of cybersecurity a little bit
Yeah.
more? And I think that's great because everything in the world of security starts with awareness. You need to know what's going on. You need to know where you're doing well. You need to know where you're not doing so well, your opportunities, the room where you have room to improve.
Mm.
Um, you need to understand what's going on first before you can make any solid steps towards better security. So I love to see that trend.
Hmm. And talking about awareness, would you say like when you get into businesses, it's more about getting the people to understand what are the attacks, so problems or what to be aware of, or it's more of a push a system into the business and then just let the system do its job?
Yeah. So I think both of those are big elements
Hmm.
in the formula for a better security posture.
Hmm.
90, I think I remember reading like 93%, upwards of 93%, I'd say, of data breaches and security incidents occurred due to a human element error, right?
Hmm.
Someone did something they were not supposed to do, right? They followed the instructions of an email. They followed the instructions of a scam center caller, right?
Hmm.
Something like that. So their human element is definitely the bigger a huge under a developed or underappreciated part of cybersecurity.
Hmm.
Um, but then there's also a big element on the technical side, right? One of the reasons why the human element is oftentimes the biggest vulnerability is not because the technical routes or the technical options don't exist. It's because a lot of companies might do a pretty good job of having some sort of intrusion protection, some antivirus,
Hmm.
email filters, things like that in place. So the lowest effort route is through humans, right? Because it's a lot harder to secure a human than it is to secure a computer. You have to educate. You have to make sure that they know. You have to make sure that security is like at the front of their mind. This is literally training, right? So yeah, they both they both go hand in hand. I think one way that we look at it is like if if you have your the human firewall is kind of one of the terms that people use in the industry. The human element to security, training humans, preparing them, training them to recognize threats and be distrustful of strange requests and whatnot. Um, the way that we like to think of it is the human element is you're building the gate, the wall around your business. Security measures are the gates, right? So what use is it to have all these fancy technical tools? Great, you have a cool, big, powerful gate, but you don't have any walls. So you can't have one without the other, right? Or you have all these big, massive walls protecting this awesome city, and then your gates are wide open. It's not one or the other. You have to use both of them in tandem with each other.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's equally important, I would probably say, because
Hmm.
cool, your humans are trained. That's great. You don't have an antivirus. You don't have an email field, security system. You don't have backups. You don't have ransomware, recovery systems in place. Like you need both. You absolutely need both.
And is there a thing that maybe small businesses use that think they're secure with? Like you just said, like antivirus. Like is some of the business just say like, oh, I have this antivirus and
Yeah.
I'm good for forever, or this little system that actually doesn't really do as much. Is there any system that business misunderstand about their security that they use right now?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of that. I think the two that come to mind primarily, the first two that come to mind are backups and antivirus.
Okay.
A lot of small businesses, they say, hey, my computer ships with Defender. That's fine. And it is if you're an individual, if you're a home user on your personal computer, Defender's fine. But one of the problems with Defender is it's not necessarily as robust. It doesn't have as many um, advanced features as a more dedicated platform. Like the one that we use is Cynet. We're big fans of Cynet. We like it. Um, and it has a lot of features that Defender on its own doesn't necessarily have. Chief among them being a centralized management portal, right? You can see what's going on because once you have a business, once you have multiple employees, you have multiple computers. It's a lot harder to keep track of them. And so even if you have Defender on each individual computer, if you're not connecting it to even something as basic as Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, one of their 365, like one of their security offerings, their paid security offerings, if you're not connecting things to a centralized dashboard, that's a problem because you don't have visibility, you don't see what's going on. It's harder to recognize trends. If something gets in, it's a little harder to identify from where it came. It's just rough. So I think one thing is a lot of people think that the most basic antivirus is the best one or is okay. And it is at an individual level. But the moment that you're coordinating work with multiple computers because you have multiple employees, that doesn't really work. That doesn't scale well. And the features that you have also don't really scale well with your business needs. The second one is backups. I think one of the biggest things that I'll say, so we have these questionnaires, we have these security assessments that we'll do for customers, for prospects. One of the questions that we ask is, do you have a backup system in place? And if so, what is your backup system? And we will get so many times we get an answer saying, yeah, we have backup systems in place. Cool. The follow-up question is, what is it? And then they'll say, oh, we have OneDrive. It's like, oh, because look, OneDrive lets you, if you delete a file, you can go to the recycle bin and then you can like restore the file. So we have backups. And if something happens, So that's another thing that we see is there's a bit of a disconnect. We're saying, great, that's where your files are, and it has some resiliency, right? You have the recycle bin, and then Microsoft loves to make things complicated. So not only do you have a recycle bin, you have a second stage recycle bin, right? So you have a recycle bin for your recycle bin. Uh, that adds some resiliency, but that's not what we're talking about when we say backups. When I say backups, I'm asking, do you have like a third party system, or do you have files? Do you have a network or like storage infrastructure somewhere dedicated to keeping a separate copy of those files, not in OneDrive? Because here's the thing: if your credentials are compromised, someone gets into your account. You have, let's say, you're Office 365, company. Someone gets into your account. They have access to your OneDrive, right? They have access to the recycle bin and the second stage recycle bin. They can do whatever they want. Backups are one of those things that we're trying to work really hard to educate, not just our customers, but just people in general. And like whether or not people work with us down the road or companies work with us, I think a big thing for us is kind of redefine what people understand. It really matters when it comes to those two things, right? Antivirus and backups. Like, sure, you have something, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about more than just zero or the absolute bare minimum of the default.
Okay.
We want to
And
go a little farther than that.
and I think for backup, would that mean like other servers completely with like like a double set of like computers? Like what the simple way to understand like backup and the antivirus?
Yeah, sure. So we are big fans of what's called the 3-2-1 backup rule, right? That
Mhm.
is, you want to have three copies of your data. OneDrive, great, that's one copy. Three copies of your data stored on two different types of media, right? And at least one copy kept offsite. Back in the day, this probably meant you want HDDs, and you want like tape drives or something, right? Today, it looks a little different.
Mhm.
We usually recommend that those three copies of your data are, let's say, I'm going to say OneDrive, and then you can have like a Synology or a QNAP in your office, right? Like a physical network attached storage.
Mhm.
Synology, QNAP, they're awesome. They have applications that support like backups for Google Workspace, for 365. You don't pay licensing costs. You don't have to do this, right? They're amazing companies. We're big fans of their product. I think we're a little partial to Synology, but that's just preference. Um, and then the third one would be, let's say, a cloud-based backup solution like AFI. AFI is pretty cool, right? We like AFI. You can back up your Google Workspace. You can back up your 365 environment, OneDrive, Exchange, Messages, Teams, all that stuff. And then you can even do like, it's really good when you want to restore from your backups. So that would be an example of a 3-2-1 backup rule that we would encourage customers to adopt, right? Great. You have OneDrive. That's where a copy of your files are. You want two more copies. Let's give you a Synology. Let's get you on AFI. And then from there, you have three copies of your data. They're stored on three different medias, right? Because they're stored on essentially different infrastructure. You have your OneDrive, you have your Synology, you have your AFI, and wherever AFI, whatever data center you happen to be in for AFI. And then obviously AFI also represents an offsite copy, right? Today, I would define your internal infrastructure as on-site, which means your OneDrive, I call that on-site because that's still inside of your business infrastructure. Looks a little different than an office building, but it's still what we would call your infrastructure.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an example on the backup side of things. You mentioned the antivirus example as
Yeah,
well.
just a simple example for the small business owner to understand what is that basically.
Yeah. So it doesn't cost that much. It really doesn't cost that much to have a proper managed or an EDR, endpoint detection and response platform
Mhm.
um, implemented. Licensing can cost anywhere from like $5 to $15 per endpoint per month,
Hmm.
which is not bad for a good system, right? It doesn't cost that much. A lot of times, I mean, an incident costs a lot more, right?
Yeah.
That's the truth of the matter. An incident is going to cost a lot more than that. So just a little bit of effort to say, I'm going to do, instead of just rely on the default, defender, I'm going to put in something like sign-in. I'm going to put in something like Sentinel-1, or, you could talk to Attainable Security and we can help you out with that, right? But it's surprisingly affordable. It's surprisingly accessible to get literally anything other than the basic Windows Defender. And I absolutely have to shout this out into every street corner that I can. Don't go McAfee. Don't do McAfee. That's just another virus, right? Go with something reputable. Go with something reputable. Go with something that'll work with you. Some organizations, like CrowdStrike, I think is one of those. They don't talk to you directly unless you're like more than 100 employees. So maybe CrowdStrike isn't the best option, but hey, depending on your needs, your desires, some antivirus, some EDRs out there, they have agents that tax the system a little more. I think Sentinel-1 is one of those. We tested Sentinel-1 internally, and that's kind of one of those things we realized, like, hey, the Sentinel-1 agent is a little bit heavier, requires a couple more resources than the one we ended up going with, Cynet. But yeah, it just takes a little bit of effort, a little bit of time. And if you don't have that time or you don't have that expertise in house, that's what we're here for. We're literally trying to make security attainable. Like that's our name. So yeah, it's just crank it up one notch, go from 0 to 1, and that'll pay dividends.
And talking about, I think you mentioned the budget of like being attacked by an offensive cyber attack. How much does it cost for like a small business or a medium business average for those kind of attacks? I know it depends always of the business, but like, in general, just so that people kind of understand what can that damage their business or
Yeah.
get to them.
Yeah. So for SMBs, small and medium businesses, the number is $3 million. It costs an average of $3 million to recover from a cyber attack.
Ouch.
There's two things that number doesn't encompass. So one, $3 million sucks. I don't have $3 million lying around, right? I just don't have that.
Yeah.
That's not, most people don't have that. Most businesses don't have that. Most companies, it takes about $3 million. For most organizations, the time it takes to recover can be upwards of 180 days. So $3 million up to and potentially exceeding 6 months of lost productivity. That's 6 months your sales guys aren't doing aren't working sales. 6 months your delivery guys aren't doing delivery, or doing things at a reduced capacity, right? You also have to deal with the reputational cost. When you get hit, everyone else kind of looks at that and says, ooh, that smells bad. I'm going to stay away from there, right? It's just because when you get hit, like, hey, if I was doing business with an organization, they get breached. That means that whatever data they have of mine is at risk of being leaked as well, being breached as well. So that's rough. But I think the big number that scares me, Maxime, when it comes to this is 68%. And 68% is the number, actually, well, so there's two numbers. There's 60% and 68%. I'll start with the 60%. So 60% of small businesses that get hit close within the next 6 months.
Eesh.
That's it. 60% close within the next 6 months. So when you get hit and you're a small business, your prognosis isn't very optimistic. Now, for that 40% that survives, there's a 68% chance that they get hit again, because now they're a known victim. Organizations know, hey, we hit XYZ Consulting, right? We hit them, they fell, they're still standing. Let's try and hit them again, right? We know it worked. Let's try again. It's almost like it's almost like if you down here in the south, the south of the U.S., in Florida, we have a big problem with hogs, with like wild pigs, and they learn. Wild pigs are smart. Hogs are smart, and one of their behavioral patterns is if they find a food source, they will come back. Right, and you'll see it. You look it up on YouTube. You see them on infrared cameras. They leave like feed. They'll have deer stands out there, and man, hogs find a deer stand. They eat the corn, and then the next night, 20 of them come back. Right, it's predatorial behavior. This is predatorial behavior that these hackers go through. So, anyways, there's a 68% chance that you get hit again, and then when you get hit again, there's a higher likelihood of you closing. So the narrative that spins is when a small business gets hit, odds are they're going to close. Odds are the small business dies.
Hmm.
Moms lose their jobs. Dads lose their jobs. Someone who's been building this business for the last 20 years sees it turn to dust.
Hmm.
That's tragic.
Wow.
And on the off chance they survive, there's a target on their back.
Yeah.
They're going to get hit again
Hmm.
until they close, until they die, right? So that's sort of, for us, that kind of creates a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
That builds a sense of urgency because we don't want that to happen to businesses. We don't want you to lose your business. We want to try and help you, right? We want to try and push those numbers down a little bit. We don't want 60% of business to close after they've been hit. We don't want those businesses to get hit in the first place. If they do get hit, we want to bring that number down. 60%, maybe one day we can make it 50% of businesses close, right?
Hmm.
Maybe instead of 68% of the businesses that get hit again, we can push that down to 40%. Like, we want to push those numbers down. That's
Hmm.
what we're trying to do.
And
So
then does that
yeah, scary
message go
numbers.
properly to the owners that you speak with whenever you get like a sales call or someone that wants to start with you? Does that message actually get passed to the owner and they actually understand all those big numbers that you just mentioned? Or sometimes they're still like, I understand you're saying that, but I prefer to just take the roll dice again and just go for another year without
Yeah,
sections.
yeah. I think a lot of the times we don't believe in fear mongering at Attainable. We don't like to open with those.
Okay.
It's almost like, hey, where are you in your cybersecurity journey? Where are you with your IT journey, right? Um, how are you doing? How do you feel about that? You want to start those conversations a little more with a little more gentleness, a little more
Not just
grace
your business is
than
gonna
like,
close.
hi, we just met. Your business is going to die, unless you pay us money.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, no, it's definitely a little more subtle than that.
yeah.
Ideally, what we like to do is on public channels like, hey, podcasts or articles, or if you go to our website, that 68% number, the $3 million numbers, that's on our hero. Like, that's on our homepage, right? So we're very public about that information.
Hmm.
But when it comes down to having a one-on-one conversation, um, our preferred approach is to ask questions. We want to figure out how you're doing, where are you, what are your needs, what are some pain points that you have, and then slowly but surely we kind of work our way up to, hey, we should probably help you secure your business, right?
I
So
understand.
yeah,
Perfect.
yeah, not off the rip.
So talking about the business, we just talk about maybe how the business owners kind of don't understand the part of the cybersecurity. But what for your business is working well right now from your sides, maybe client acquisition, partnerships, anything like that?
Yeah, so I think we do have a partnership program. So if anybody hears this and you say, "Hey, I have a couple businesses, I know a couple business owners that might benefit from good cybersecurity or from great IT," hey, let me know. We'll talk to you, and if it's a good fit, you can join the partner program. And we want to help those. We want those who help us prosper. We want to help them prosper, right? We want to help. Um, Man, there's just so much. There's plenty of business to go around, right? Like, hey, if you help us, we want to help you. We want to be able to bless you if you bless us, or as you bless us.
Mhm.
So yeah, we have a partnership program. That's pretty cool. One thing that we've realized is working really well in terms of messaging and in terms of our approach to like delivery and working with customers is, we saw sort of that tech delivery industry for smaller and medium businesses. Um, it's kind of split in two right now. You have your MSPs, your managed service providers, which they're basically your IT department for hire,
Mhm.
right? They'll fix your printers, they'll remote onto your machine, they'll make sure some very, I wouldn't even call them cybersecurity measures, but very, very basic security features, right?
Yeah.
Like they'll do things like help patch your systems, right? Patch your computers. Um, but mainly they're just focused on straight IT,
Mhm.
making things work.
Yeah.
On the other side of the spectrum, or the other side of the aisle, you have MSSPs, managed security service providers.
Mhm.
They give you something, they'll resell Cynet or Sentinel-1 or CrowdStrike or Huntress or Sophos or any of these other platforms. They'll integrate into your systems, they'll install their agents, and then they just kind of monitor
Mhm.
for the most part. So obviously, everything's a little reductive, but for the most part, that's kind of what they do. They just sort of stay on the security side of things. And just sort of monitor things from there. But what we realized, and this is sort of our big thing that we're shipping that I think a lot of people are resonating with, is that strong cybersecurity starts with strong IT. They're not separate. Good cybersecurity is good IT. Good IT is good cybersecurity. And so what we're trying to do is function more so like a one-stop shop, because here's the thing. If you're dealing with an organization, good security is not just making sure that there's an antivirus on there, making sure that you have an email protection, email filtration system in place, or maybe you have some backups. That's great. But good security goes beyond that. Good security is making sure that your identity lifecycle management processes are defined, making sure that you're automated where you can, to make sure that everything's consistent, to make sure that everything happens quickly, on time, every time, right? Good security is, and these are things that bleed into the IT space. Things like, if you have multiple applications in your stack, what company doesn't, right? No business operates exclusively inside of Microsoft resources or Google Workspace. Most
Mhm.
organizations have Jira, they'll have HubSpot, they'll have ClickUp, they'll have Trello or Monday.com or Asana. They have all these other platforms, Slack, whatever, right? They have all these platforms that they use. There are opportunities to interconnect those, connect them by SSO or through SCIM, right?
I think,
There's all sorts of opportunities to improve your security from an IT standpoint, because good IT is good cybersecurity. That's kind of the big thing that we're trying to preach, I guess,
and I think
that you can't
for
really separate the two.
Yeah, and for any businesses owners, I think just the IT guy is the IT guy. They don't think about this is the MSP, this is the security guy, they don't really separate
Right.
those two. And I think even talking with other CEOs in the MSP world, they were like, we kind of need to bring in cyber because like whenever there's problems with anything IT, even if it's not their realm of what they need to work with, the company will go to you because you're the IT guy of that business. So it's like I know you're the
Yeah.
MSP, but my security need this, or I got this weird email, like can you check it out? And then it always just come in as a one job at the end of the day. So that's nice that you guys actually patch them together and maybe make it better for that.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
for sure. There's a lot of visibility. You gain a lot of visibility, a lot of power, and uh, a lot of just ability to act, right? A lot of action points when you connect those systems together. Because a lot of times, hey, an MSSP might be looking at emails. They might be looking at making sure that there's there are no viruses on your computer, right? Or no phishing emails are coming through. But
yeah.
what happens when you offboard a user? You let someone go or they leave. You don't properly deactivate that account. Well,
Mm.
MSSPs don't really look at that because that's usually an MSP thing.
Mm.
MSPs are great at A lot of MSPs are great at the job, which is making things work. Not necessarily making things work securely. So when you bring all of that under one banner, under one umbrella, yeah, you're able to see more, you're able to do more, you're able to connect everything so that it works properly. Because if you're working at a larger business with 150, 200 plus employees, or 500 or more, you'll notice their systems are interconnected.
Yeah.
That's how they do things. That's how the engines are designed to work. They're
Mhm.
supposed to be as connected as possible. So it
Yeah.
just didn't make sense for us when we decided to get into that small business and medium business space. Didn't make sense why we would try and disconnect that. They're designed to work together. So that's how we try to do things.
And I think you talked about that partnership program. How does that work? Is it like you both would work the same company as two businesses, or is just bringing leads to you guys? Like how does that partnership works as a two cybersecurity business?
Sure. So I guess we have two approaches. One, if you happen to be a connector, if you happen to be someone that knows people that could benefit from us, obviously you refer people our way, we give
Yeah.
you a kickback. That's
Yeah.
a very straightforward process, right?
Mhm.
Um, for businesses like other like MSPs, for example, what we like to do is, if we feel like the MSP is a good MSP, because as with all businesses, there are good car dealerships, there are bad car dealerships, there are good MSPs, there are not so good MSPs.
Mhm.
If we feel like an MSP is doing right by its customers, they're really doing well on the IT side, then we basically can offer to say, hey, you're doing a really good job on the IT side. That's what your strength is. Let us play to our strengths and help them make things secure.
Mm.
Um, we'll also partner with, for example, we have um, some of our customers. They have in-house technical resources. They have one or two IT guys, right?
Right.
What do? We partner with them. We work with them. We say,
Yeah.
hey, cool, you got this stuff covered. We'll get those things covered, right? And we'll work together. So yeah, partnership is really just that. When we're working with companies that already have existing tech resources, it's a partnership. We're not trying to get rid of you. We don't want you to get rid of us, please. But yeah, it's like we're trying to be a partner, right? One of the best compliments or feedback that was received from our customers is one of them. We'll get it differently worded from time to time, but I remember one customer that we worked with, or a user at one of our customers. Um, they months after we started working with them, they said, "Oh wait, you guys aren't employees? You guys aren't internal team members?" We were like,
No.
"No, we're our own thing." And they were like, "Wow, you fooled me for months. Like I didn't know that." And for
Mm.
us, that's the biggest compliment that we can get, right? Because that's how we know that, hey, we feel like we're actually being a
Or-
team
Yeah,
with our companies that we work with, right? That's our desire. That's what we want to do.
I understand. And what's the big challenges of the cybersecurity business model on your sides?
Sorry, what was that?
What's the challenges of you guys businesses lately or just in general since you started it?
Yeah. I think it's a good challenge. Every single business is so different and has such different needs that I
Mhm.
feel like we will try to standardize a lot of processes, and we do. We automate things, we automate baselines. But every single business that we work with has just these very unique, radically different needs.
Mm.
And I like that. I think it's fun because I like being creative with solutions, and so does Martin. We like getting creative. It's almost like it's interesting because you try to automate so many things, but at the end of the day, this is a business where you deal with people. You deal with very bespoke processes, right? Every business is unique. Every business has a fingerprint, and every business has unique needs. So a
Yeah.
big challenge for us, and I think it's a good challenge. A big challenge for us has been, man, how much can we automate without, or how much can we automate and how much can we standardize without losing that touch of being able to build something bespoke for
Mm.
a customer because they have very specific needs.
Mm.
And there are some things that we've implemented and some things that we haven't implemented because we feel like it gets us closer to that goal of we want to be able to customize everyone's security solutions as much as possible where it makes sense, right? Where it's most efficient, not even most efficient, where it's most effective for them. Because again, every business is unique.
Yeah. Do you guys do like customizable offers for any business then, or you have like a standardized offer that get customized after, if that makes sense?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So you go to the website. Our website is on construction. That's a big PSA. So there's a new one that's going to be coming out soon.
Yeah.
But you go to the website and you have like some sort of launch points, right? We basically do like our launch point is we'll take over your IT, we'll take over your cybersecurity, or we'll take over everything, right? Both your IT and your cybersecurity needs. Um, that's like where you start. But
Mhm.
the truth is, a lot of times that means that that's really just the starting point, right?
Yeah.
For businesses, will say, "Hey, you need this, you don't need that." They're already locked into a 1 year or 2 year or 3 year contract with a specific vendor. That's great. Instead of bringing our licensing into play, we won't charge you for our licensing. We'll just take over that system you're already paying for.
Mm.
So, well, yeah, we customize things for them, but basically, we'll help you on the IT side, we'll help you on the cybersecurity side, we'll help you with both,
Mhm.
and then we start from there. We customize an offering.
Okay. And then that price point, I guess, change from any customizable that any, like you just said, if there's a license you don't need to put into, then the price kind of change as what they need, I
Yeah,
guess. And then there's that
correct.
standardized offer of this is the price we do for the IT, this is the price we do for cyber, and then we customize
Yeah,
those two together. Okay.
correct. Yeah, and it's very. I think we might be a little too transparent with our pricing. Like we'll sit down with a potential customer and they'll be like, "How much would it cost for this?" And then we'll tell them like, "This is how much we charge." We charge, for example, I'll just lay it out for you right now, Maxime. On the cybersecurity side of things, managed IT services, our
Mhm.
cost, we charge $85 per seat. And a
Mhm.
seat covers a user and an endpoint, right?
Mhm.
That's one seat, a knowledge, like they're a person and their computer.
Yeah.
We charge $85 per seat plus whatever licensing, right? We don't make money on our licenses because here, like the big truth is, God, I really don't like this, but I feel like there's this attitude in the industry where a managed service provider has a black box. We use advanced services. You go to all these websites, we have all these awesome tools and proprietary and super advanced state of the art tech. We all use the same things in the background. We all use, you're either a Microsoft partner, you use Google Workspace, you're partnered with, CrowdStrike, you have a Pax8 membership. Like, we all have access to the same things on the back end, right? We chose our vendors because we believe in them, and everything that we sell to our customers or all of the tooling that we use, we back those up by using them ourselves. We're big fans of JumpCloud, so we use JumpCloud. We're big fans of Signet. We use Signet. We're big fans of Blue Mira, and we use Blue Mira, right?
Mhm.
So that's kind of where our vendor selection comes from. If we use it and we like it and we trust it, then it's good enough for our customers. But at the end of the day, everybody has access to the same tools. So
Mhm.
our pricing model is super straightforward. It's $85 for the services. And then for any licensing that we bring along with us,
Mhm.
for example, JumpCloud, we basically sell it at cost.
Huh.
Because you can go out and you can buy JumpCloud on your own if you really want to.
Yeah.
So we use that to maybe pass on some extra savings. I think for the tier of JumpCloud license that we're partnered to resell, I think it retails for like $28 a user. We get it from JumpCloud for a little closer to 20. So we charge 20 because we're not trying to make money on the licenses. We know you can get JumpCloud on your own, right?
Hmm.
It's super, super straightforward. So that's how it works. All in for all the tooling, it comes out to like 118, 120 bucks per seat for managed IT services. And that comes with everything: identity management, even, basic cybersecurity features like SOC functionality, managed detection and response, Signet, email filtering, security awareness training. With that kind of basic core package, it's 118 bucks, which is 85 plus our license costs. So that's how we like to roll. That's how we like to operate.
I understand. And what's the big goals for the next 6 to 12 months, basically the new year 2026, for you guys to continue?
Yeah. So, Maxime, I don't know about you, but I'm a Christian. I'm a believer, and I believe that all the success that we've had, all the
Yeah.
success that we will continue to have, is just exclusively and solely by the goodness of God. And He's been very good to us. It's been super, super exciting to seeing what's been happening and to see what's going to be continuing to happen.
Mhm.
2026, if everything continues to go at the rate that it's going, um, we're looking at expanding the team. We're looking at hiring. We're looking at expanding operations. Martin, my co-founder, lives in the DFW area. He lives in a super cool town called McKinney. I live in Jacksonville, Florida. So we see ourselves. Most of our customers are in the in the McKinney area. We have a customer here in Jacksonville. 2026 sees us expanding more into Jacksonville and sort of taking advantage of the two major metropolitan markets that we're in.
Nice.
Um, and yeah, expanding the team, growing, and man, it's really exciting. It's
Hmm.
really, really exciting to see what's in store next for us.
Nice. And what's like, what do you guys need to get those first employees under your belt? Like, what's that gap between that and just right now getting one right now?
We are, I think, we are basically two clients. We're yeah, financially, we're basically, because it's, you have one client can mean 5 employees, it can mean 50, right?
Yeah.
So I'll say it this way: we're basically about, oh, I want to say maybe like 40 to 50 employees that we cover, like 50 users away from potentially being able to, being away from potentially from our next hire. It's getting close.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's super exciting. It's
Hmm.
super, super exciting. So we're almost there. Again, like Maxime, you know, it, God's been good. I don't want people to be like, oh wow, look at these, entrepreneurs. It's so cool. Like, honestly, just God's been good.
And
That's
how,
the
how
truth.
do you guys like 50 users? That's like pretty close. So how do you guys manage your time? Are you guys like all the way up there, like with all the client management, the all marketing, sales, everything?
Yeah.
Since it's like so close to like the new hire person?
Yeah. So a lot of our hiring strategy is that we want to bring someone on
Hmm.
before we're too overwhelmed to train them
Okay.
and properly onboard them. So
Yeah.
50 is that's the point where we are going to get individually, we're going to say, all right, you know what? We're starting to get a little bit strained here. We're not being overwhelmed. but we are
Not yet.
sort of we can see it being overwhelmed on the horizon, right?
Yeah,
So we
yeah,
want to be safe, we want to be responsible, you want to bring people on, you want to grow the team before you absolutely have to, and
yeah,
now you've run out of time.
yeah.
So yeah, that's sort of our approach there, and yeah, I mean, our big goal, MSPs and MSSP style companies like us, you basically have two options to grow. You can either grow strong or you can grow fast, right? You can grow fast by outsourcing your tier one, your tier two help desk to, overseas to, call center farms, which we've been invited to do. Like, I'll get emails at least once a week, like, hey, have you considered outsourcing to X country or to Y company? And that's just a hard no. Like, we're not about that. We would rather grow a little more slowly, but grow
Mhm.
strongly than to just grow fast, outsource everything, and then be just like everyone else.
Yeah,
So yeah, we rather go slow. We want to do so before we absolutely have to, so that we can have a strong foundation to move forward. And then hopefully, if everything works out and everything works out perfectly all the time, as it always does,
hopefully,
um, right? um, we'll get that opportunity to continue growing and then
nice.
train up, build out that workforce, and then transition properly from working in the business to working on the business and doing all of that fun stuff.
I like this. So before we close, for listeners who wants to maybe learn more about Attainable Security or reach you, is there a best way to go, or where should they talk to you?
Yeah, for sure. If you're listening to this podcast, you can just reach out to me, Sam at attainablesecurity.io. Shoot me an email. You can go to our website, attainablesecurity.io. And we also have a pretty cool newsletter that we've been running for a few months now. It's called The Dungeon Master's Guide to Digital Defense. If you can't already tell, I have a fake background here, but I'm a huge
Ah,
nerd, Magic the Gathering, all that good stuff. I'm a massive nerd. Both of us are D&D fans. So the Dungeon Master's Guide to Digital Defense is our newsletter. Super nerdy. It's got
reference?
Lord of the Rings in it. It's got Star Trek. I mean, it's got everything.
Yeah.
So if you go to our website, you scroll all the way to the bottom, you can see the invitation to sign up for that newsletter. And
Mhm.
we basically publish once a month. Um,
Nice.
hopefully, we want it to be a good read for everybody. So, I mean, that's where you can go. Our website, reach out to me directly, sign up for a newsletter, check us out. And we're also planning soon to start hosting like free webinars
Mhm.
for small and medium business owners to attend and just give out some like base cybersecurity basics that can help them do things like improve their security posture without paying for any more tooling through by taking advantage of what they're already paying for on platforms like Microsoft, Office 365, and Google Workspace. So lots of cool things coming down the pipeline. We're really, really excited for that.
Nice. Thanks again, Sam, for coming in and taking the time to talk with me. It was an amazing
Thank you for
video.
having me.
There you go.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you.
Bye.